This is your Sound Off Extra review for WWE Elimination Chamber 2018. You can now listen to full episodes of the Solomonster Sounds Off on Spotify, for those of you who don't know. The key segments on the show tonight delivered what they were supposed to. They didn't go above and beyond or anything. I thought that the two chamber matches and the Ronda Rousey contract signing accomplished what they set out to do. I thought the two matches were very good. They weren't blowaway. I don't think they have any replay value, not the way that last year's chamber match does, at least to me it does. Because I really thought that was one of the better chamber matches they've ever done last year. Not so this year. Nia Jax and Asuka had its moments. Everything else was just total filler. I would go 6 out of 10, maybe 6.5 out of 10 if I'm feeling generous. The road to WrestleMania, predictable, absolutely. Exactly what everybody expected. Roman Reigns is going to WrestleMania. He is challenging Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. No big surprise there. So let's just start with the kickoff match. Let's not waste any time here. Kickoff was Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows against Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. Anderson and Gallows won with the Magic Killer on Axel. Not much to it. They did an inset promo with the Revival when the match was over, talking about what it takes to be a real tag team. So that's the next feud there between Anderson and Gallows and the Revival. Pay-per-view itself opened with the first ever Women's Elimination Chamber match for the Raw Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss defending against Sasha Banks, Mickie James, Bayley, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. It was Bayley and Sonya who started out the match. Mandy Rose was in next, making it Absolution against Bayley 2-on-1. Bayley fought him off for a while until Deville caught her with a massive spear. That gave them the advantage. They double-teamed her for a while, tied her up in the chains. Instead of, eliminating her, they decided to string her on up on the chains and beat her up for a while until Sasha Banks came in. Sasha ran wild. Backstabber. Banks statement to eliminate Mandy Rose. And they pointed out that Mandy apparently was the first one eliminated in the Women's Royal Rumble match. I think that's what they said. And she was the first one eliminated here in this match. Mandy Rose is good. She's got a lot of potential. And kind of a weird thing to take credit for, I guess, being the first one eliminated in both of these matches. But of the two, not that Sonya's bad, but of the two, I think Mandy has the brighter future. Mickie James was in next. She climbed up onto one of the pods. She did a dive onto Sonya Deville and eliminated her, so she was gone next. Backstabber to Mickie, into a belly to Bayley. Bayley then pinned Mickie James. Came down to Sasha, Bayley, and the two of them were waiting for Alexa Bliss to enter the match, come out of her pod. Alexa was in no rush to come out of her pod. She shut the door, tried to lock herself inside. She escaped out the other side, starts climbing the chamber. Sasha climbs up on one side, Bayley climbs up on another. They've got Alexa stuck in the middle. She doesn't know where to go. I like this because Alexa Bliss was employing the same strategy that I would employ if I was ever in an Elimination Chamber match. I would just climb as high as I could. Get a nosebleed, I don't care. climb as high as you possibly can and just stay out of the fray. And when everybody else beats the hell out of each other, then you climb down and steal the pin. That's the way to do it. So they get Alexa cornered. Alexa climbs up on top of one of the pods. Sasha's up there. Bayley starts to climb up. And Sasha, being the good friend that she is, extends a hand down to help Bayley up. And Bayley, ever the naive one, accepts her hand. And in doing so, Sasha then kicks her in the face and knocks her down to the floor. That's right. That's the way it should be. There are no friends. See, this is the Sasha Banks I've been waiting to see. Want to see more of this. A few minutes later, Bayley catches Sasha on the ropes as Sasha was climbing up. Hits a top rope belly to Bayley. But before she could pin Sasha, Alexa comes from out of nowhere, cradles Bayley, and eliminates her. So it came down to Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. There was a spot where Alexa hit the Twisted Bliss off the top of one of the pods onto the floor, or the padded platform that they have outside the ring. So she hits the big moonsault, kind of a not really a moonsault, but she hits her finish. And they're laying out there on the padded platform. 2 seconds later, Sasha rolls through, like almost immediately. There's a little bit of a delay, but Sasha rolls through and turns it into the Banks statement. completely killing Alexa's finish dead. So that was weird. Bank statement on the outside. Obviously, you have to be in the ring for it to count, so it doesn't really matter. She gets her inside the ring. Alexa fights her way out of the hold. Sasha goes to climb up again onto one of the pods, but Alexa shoves her face first into the pod, then finishes Sasha off with an Andrade Cien Almas-esque draping DDT to retain her championship. Long match. They went almost half an hour. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good match. Even, and even better was the promo post-match by Alexa. She had crocodile tears going. She's giving this emotional speech about how, I did this for every little girl out there. I immediately, as she's saying this, was thinking that she was mocking Sasha. How many times have we heard Sasha, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be the WWE Women's Champion. When I was a little girl, right? We've always, we've heard that speech about 1,000 times. So she's given this speech, and she looks out to the crowd, and she says, dare to dream and dare big. You can be anything you want to be. They even gave her a you deserve it chant. And then Alexa turned on the fans and said none of them will ever accomplish their dreams, which is probably true. So Alexa Bliss is the one of the best heels in the entire company. I thought this was a good first-time effort for the ladies in the chamber, right? They made a big deal about this being the first ever women's chamber match. They've been doing a lot of that lately. First ever this, first ever women's rumble, now the first ever women's chamber. Tomorrow night it'll be something new. I don't think this was anything people are going to remember for years to come or anything, but again, the match was fine. The Sasha Bayley stuff, that's obviously going to continue. They're going somewhere with this tomorrow night. I suspect this will continue. The announcers were talking about Sasha stabbing Bayley in the back. I hear that it's like Gorilla Monsoon back in the day, chastising Sid Justice for stabbing Hulk Hogan in the back in the Royal Rumble match back in '92. It's every person for themselves. If I was in there with my best friend, I would do what I had to do to win. I'd kick him in the crotch if he gave me an opening. I don't care. It's not a tag team match. It's not a handicap match. So if that's going to be the basis going forward for their feud, then Sasha's the babyface and Bayley is the heel, as far as I'm concerned. We had Sheamus and Cesaro against Titus and Apollo for the Raw Tag Team titles. Cesaro hurt his leg early in the match on a dive by Apollo out to the floor. I don't know if he rolled his ankle or what happened there. He was grabbing the bottom like a shin, in the shin area. He didn't seem right for the rest of the match. So maybe he turned an ankle or something. Hopefully that's all it is if he is hurt. He gave Apollo a very weak-looking chop block there at the finish, and there was an assisted white noise. Sheamus had him up for white noise. Cesaro came off the ropes for a springboard, but even doing the springboard didn't look like he had quite the same spring that he normally does. And he got the pin. So I don't really have anything else to say about this match. This match was the definition of filler. It's just as basic a match as you could possibly get. It was decent for what it was. Nothing more. The tag team division right now on Raw is just completely dead. I mean, the Bar, they make a great tag team. They've got great chemistry together. They've had some great matches before. But who's left, right? Anderson and Gallows apparently are going to do their thing with the Revival. The Revival, by the way, whatever momentum they had coming out of NXT is just completely gone. I mean, the fact that both of them, each one of them got hurt, one right after the other, after they got called up to the main roster, really killed all of the momentum that they had. And so they've got to try to now build that back up. When Jeff Hardy eventually comes back, are they going to put the Hardys back together? I'm sure they'll do something, maybe the Broken stuff together. I don't know if they'll be a tag team or not. And you look out at the rest of the show and there's just nothing. I mean, if ever there was a need for a shakeup or a draft or something, call up some NXT teams, AOP, Sanity. I feel like those guys have done all they can do. Raw needs them. Not that the SmackDown tag team division is lighting the world on fire either, but Raw needs it more than SmackDown does right now. So we had Nia Jax and Asuka. Nia Jax wins. Not only is the streak over, but she gets in on the Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. I thought that this match was good for what it was. I wouldn't call it any more than good. They certainly didn't do much to make Asuka look like a wrecking machine or somebody, not to be messed with. She didn't come out of this looking all that good. But they wanted to protect Nia in defeat, so they made her out to be the monster. She took about 90% of the match, if not more. Asuka won, so in the end, that's all that really matters. But it was pretty much just Nia Jax beating her up, throwing her around. Asuka did bust out a sweet-looking jumping armbar at one point, which I never get tired of seeing that move. Just the way she does it, it's always it's a beautiful thing to watch when she busts that move out. But in the end, Asuka got the pin, and so the streak, her undefeated streak, will live to see day number 874. She did not win, by the way, by submission. She basically rolled up Nia for the pin. I didn't expect that Nia was going to tap out or anything. I kind of half expected Alexa Bliss to make an appearance in favor of her friend and maybe accidentally cost Nia the match, but they didn't do that. They did show Alexa watching from the back. After the match, Nia Jax, ever the sportsman, attacks Asuka, throws her out of the ring, tackles her through the barricade. This barricade exploded upon impact. It looked great, and Asuka got left laying. And so Nia looks strong in defeat. And they went backstage. Alexa Bliss is doing an interview, and she says, no one is ready for Alexa. So she's stealing Asuka's catchphrase. They're not fooling me. And don't let them fool you either. They're acting as though it's a foregone conclusion that Asuka is going to challenge Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania for the championship. It's going to be Charlotte and Asuka. And when Alexa finds out that Nia wants her title, she won't be so happy anymore. The people are already cheering Nia Jax most weeks. Even tonight, she got a fair amount of cheers. So I think taking to her, going into WrestleMania, taking to her as a babyface against Alexa really isn't going to be all that much of a stretch. I mean, if anything, it'll just complete the turn. We had Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Matt entered first. Bray's little sound effect hit, lights went out. When they came back on, Bray was in the ring, but Hardy was gone. The only thing left was his jacket. Bray was looking around for him. We could hear Matt speaking over the loudspeaker. We didn't know where he is. Bray checked under the ring. But Matt showed up on the steps. He attacked him, so that kicked off the match. The fans played with beach balls. They started a wave, and they started a Rusev Day chant. So that right there tells you what they thought of this match. And I felt bad for these guys because it really, as a match, it wasn't all that bad of a match. I mean, there was really nothing wrong with it aside from the fact it was just, pretty pedestrian stuff. People just didn't care. And I can't really blame them. I don't care about this feud either. And this felt like a blow-off to me, which, if it is, what a gigantic waste of time this has been. I have to think that they still have something planned, some kind of a gimmick match, from the Hardy compound or something. And Matt has teased that in the past. They don't, be patient. It's coming. We're gonna do stuff like that. Just be patient. My patience has worn thin with this feud. At least if it was good, if it was entertaining, if it was fun, and I'm waiting for the payoff, that's fine. Right? Fans tend to be very impatient these days. I can be a very patient person. My patience with this feud has worn out. This has been just an absolute fail. There's been nothing fun about this feud. The whole point of the Hardy gimmick is it is so over the top, it is so goofy that some people absolutely hate it, and then you have people that just absolutely love that kind of stuff. And so why not embrace that? Why not embrace that? Give us the goofiness. Give us the over-the-top stuff. We haven't gotten any of that. It is so watered down. It is so dull. It is so boring that they have completely turned me off of this feud. And really, for Bray Wyatt, that's sort of the tale of his last two feuds. First with Finn Balor. I couldn't wait for that to be over. And now with Matt Hardy. And both feuds have had me reaching for the remote control. So Bray goes for Sister Abigail. Hardy escapes. He wins with a twist of fate. The eater of pins eats another one. He eats any more of those, he's going to become diabetic. He's got to watch himself. We then had the Ronda Rousey contract signing. Kurt Angle was out first, followed by Triple H and Stephanie. They were all smiles. Ronda Rousey comes out. Thankfully, this time she was wearing a jacket that actually fit her. She didn't look like a 12-year-old child. She was very rough on the microphone. Ronda Rousey is not known for her mic skills. She's got her own special charisma. You know, when she used to walk out to the octagon for a fight, she would speed walk to the ring. She'd have a look on her face like she could murder 10 people and, you know, take a piss break and murder 10 more. She's got a special aura about her. Her verbal skills are not up to snuff. She was very rough. Plenty of boos for her here, but there were enough people chanting her name to save this thing, and she was, you know, getting all emotional. People were chanting her name, so thankfully she had some supporters here. She praised Roddy Piper for bequeathing the Rowdy name to her. She wanted to do him and his family proud, she said. Ronda made it very clear she wanted no special treatment. She wanted to be treated like every other female on the roster. I mean, they really, I have to compliment them and really praise them for how they handled this segment, WWE, the way they laid this out, because they really did everything in their power to try to get people behind Rousey in the event that they were not going to be. And some people were not. Again, there were audible boos here at the beginning of this segment, but the way they laid this out was masterful. They did everything they possibly could do to make sure that by the time this thing was over, people were cheering Rousey, they were behind her, and they were on her side. And part of that was getting, I don't know if sympathy is the right word, but, you know, it was very calculated, them wanting to make sure that people understood, I'm not here for special treatment. I don't want limo rides. I'm not going to wrestle 3 times a year like Brock Lesnar. I want to be treated just like everybody else. I'm no more special than anybody else on that roster, even though that's not true. Obviously she is. That's why they signed her. But they made that very clear. Triple H promised her a match at WrestleMania. He goes, it's not a championship match, but you will have a match at WrestleMania the minute you sign that contract. Now, Ronda, they're all ready to sign. Ronda's ready to sign. She looks over. She sees Triple H giving Kurt Angle a hard time. They're talking about something. She doesn't know what's going on. Ronda looks over. She says to Kurt, got something to say? And Kurt Angle then proceeds to snitch on Triple H and Stephanie. He claims that they still hold a grudge over what happened at over what happened when Rousey beat up Triple H and Stephanie at WrestleMania 21. Oops. They've given poor Kurt Angle the Mike Adamle gimmick of being the bumbling fool on the microphone. Kurt Angle, he's had a rough go as the Raw GM when it comes to his promos and his speeches and, you know, various segments on TV. This was no different. WrestleMania 31 is obviously what he meant. He was only off by a decade. And he goes, hey, Hunter, didn't you say that once she signs, we own the bitch? Triple H claimed that Kurt, he's been in the hospital. He's recovering from the flu. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This is why he's spewing all of this nonsense. Hopefully he had a CAT scan while he was there as well. So the big spot here was Ronda Rousey grabbing Triple H, picking him up, almost in a back suplex type position, and putting him through the table that was set up inside the ring. Thankfully, the table did break. Stephanie got so angry, shockingly, she slapped Ronda Rousey. What did I say on the podcast earlier today? Right? Watch for the slap. I wasn't 100% convinced it was going to come tonight, but they didn't want to waste time. We got our first slap here. And so she slapped Rousey across the face. Fans chanted, "You fucked up," as Rousey gave her a death stare and Stephanie bailed. Again, I thought what they did here was perfect as far as just making sure that Rousey was cheered by the time this thing was over. It worked like a charm. And she came off like a total badass. It's very obvious they're going to do a tag team match at WrestleMania. You would think after this segment that it's going to be Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie, but I don't know where that would leave Seth Rollins, since Rollins, it would seem, if Jordan is not coming back in time for WrestleMania, is probably going to face Kurt Angle. I don't know who else you put Seth Rollins in there with, unless, you know, Samoa Joe makes it back in time. Maybe they do Joe and Rollins. I don't know. But you know, the way this was set up, it certainly seems like Angle and Rousey is a very real possibility. I am still hoping for The Rock. I'm still hoping for The Rock. You know, whatever Ronda is missing on the microphone. Rock would more than make up for it. And the quicker they get Rousey with Paul Heyman when WrestleMania is over, the better off she'll be in the long run. I have a feeling Heyman is going to need a new client anyway after WrestleMania. They promoted Stephanie McMahon appearing on Raw Talk after the pay-per-view, which is in progress as I speak. Actually, by now it may be over. So I'm missing it. I don't know what she's saying. I'm sure whatever she's on there talking about, it's very annoying. Main event was the first ever 7-man Elimination Chamber match for the right to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns, John Cena, Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, The Miz, and Elias. Elias opened with a concert in the middle of the ring until Braun Strowman interrupted. John Cena was out next, followed by Roman Reigns, The Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor. Miz, Rollins, and Balor opened the match. No concert from Elias inside the pod. That was surprising. That seemed like a gimme. They did it before the match instead. So those three kicked off the match. Pretty slow start. John Cena came in next. This whole storyline, can I just say this? This whole storyline that John Cena, and they've done this with him before, by the way. This is not the first time they've done this, but this whole storyline that John Cena might somehow be left off the WrestleMania card. He'll have no WrestleMania match this year. It is so absurdly offensive to me as like a viewer. It is such an insult to anybody who has watched this show for more than a week, let alone anybody who's watched this show for the last decade plus. It's just so stupid. So Roman Reigns was in next. Braun Strowman followed and did what Braun Strowman does. He wrecked shit. He laid everybody out except Miz. Miz climbed up onto one of the pods. Braun climbed up after him and caught him, which is just terrifying to think of somebody that big being able to climb that fast. It's like the first time I realized that water bugs could fly. I wanted to shit myself. So he rammed Miz face first into the plexiglass a few times. He tossed his body off the top of the pod. Everybody down below caught him. They broke his fall. Strowman power slams Miz and eliminates him. And remember, that is the rumored direction for WrestleMania. At least it was as of a few weeks ago. It was supposedly going to be Strowman and Miz for the Intercontinental title. So we'll see if that is the case. I guess tomorrow night we'll see how they get to that point, if that is the plan. So that was the first elimination for Strowman. He stalked Elias inside his pod before he came out, but Elias very wisely locked himself in, much the way Alexa Bliss did earlier in the show. Strowman turns around, he gets ganged up on, 4-on-1. Rollins and Balor, they get Strowman up for Roman Reigns and John Cena to deliver a double powerbomb. All four men cover Strowman for the pin, but he kicks out. He powers out. And they each hit their finish on Strowman. Cena hits an AA, only a 1 count. Reigns hits a spear for a 2 count. Rollins hits a curb stomp. Strowman then very wisely rolls out onto the padded platform. Balor hits the double foot stomp. Elias tries to get Braun Strowman on his shoulders. I'm fast forwarding a little bit here. Elias did eventually find his way inside. And so there's a spot where he tries to get Braun up on his shoulders. What this man was thinking, I have no idea. He tried, he failed, it was the stupidest thing that he could possibly do, and Strowman gave him a power slam and pinned him. So the drifter is gone. He drifted to the back. Strowman catches John Cena diving off the top rope. Power slams John Cena and pins him. So John Cena's WrestleMania dreams have been dashed. Oh no. If he's lucky, maybe he'll get a match on the Kickoff show. So it comes down to Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman. Strowman and Balor face off. Balor, or actually, what am I saying here? It's Reigns, Rollins, Balor, and Strowman. I forgot one guy here. Strowman and Balor face off. Balor hits a coup de grace to the back of the head. Still only gets a 2 count. Nothing that anybody does to this man can put down Braun Strowman. He is unstoppable here. At least until the finish. Coup de grace to Roman Reigns. Finn Balor had him dead to rights, but Braun Strowman immediately picked up Balor, hit a power slam, and pinned him. So that made, at that point, 4 eliminations, which I think is a record for Braun Strowman. He would break that record minutes later. Came down to the 3 most likely babyfaces to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman. I had a whole discussion about this on the podcast earlier today. When you look at the landscape on Raw, when you look at the top baby faces on that brand, Seth Rollins had a lot of momentum coming out of his performance in the Gauntlet match last Monday. People, they love Rollins. Rollins comes out, he's one of the most popular, faces on the entire show. Same for Braun Strowman. Roman Reigns, he has his fans. He's a big star, but doesn't quite get the same reactions, positive ones anyway, that Rollins and Strowman do. And so you look at that and you go, man, if ever there was a time to call an audible or, put somebody else in there against Brock Lesnar, deviate from the plans, you could go, believably enough with either Seth Rollins or Braun Strowman, and I don't think the fans would really mind all that much. Not that I expect the WWE to change their plans, but you can make the argument that either one of those other two guys could and should be slotted into the WrestleMania main event this year. So I actually thought it was really smart that the three final entrants in this match were maybe the only three guys who could have believably won this match. I mean, I personally never thought John Cena stood a chance. I guess you could say Cena maybe could have won, but I don't know that the finish with Roman was ever in doubt. But I like that it came down to these three, because any of these three believably could have gone on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So it comes down to these three. Reigns and Rollins gang up on Braun, but then Rollins turns on Reigns, gives him a buckle bomb. Roman pops right out of the corner, hits a Superman punch. Both guys are down. Rollins, a few minutes later, hits a frog splash off the top of one of the pods onto Braun Strowman, but he only gets a 2 out of it. Rollins hits 2 super kicks on Strowman, gets him down to a knee. Goes for the curb stomp, but Strowman picks him up for the power slam and pins him. That makes 5 eliminations for Braun Strowman, a record in the chamber match. And it comes down to the monster and the big dog. Took a gazillion Superman punches, 2 spears, but finally in the end, Roman Reigns pins Braun Strowman to win the Elimination Chamber. Surprise, surprise, Roman Reigns is going to WrestleMania to beat Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. The only surprising thing about this was that Roman didn't point to the WrestleMania sign after the match. He just stared at it. And then Strowman attacked him, gave him 2 power slams, and he threw him through one of the pods to end the show. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, they had Strowman eliminate 5 different men in this match. He was the MVP of the Elimination Chamber match. And they have him then, when the match is over, beat up the winner decisively. 2 power slams and he throws him through the glass pod. And they even played his music out to end the show. If that's what they were going to do, then why not let the guy win? Right? I mean, it's like they did everything but let him win. I know why they did it. They wanted to keep him as strong as possible, but yeah, I mean, shit, for God's sakes. I mean, if you're going to do all that, you may as well just go all the way and have him win the whole thing. So all but one elimination in this match, that being his own, belonged to Braun Strowman. And they did everything in their power to make him look like the baddest man on the planet, but they could not deviate from their plan. Their plan, probably for a good year now, has been Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and damn it, nobody is going to ruin their plans. And I will say this, and I've said this before, the two of them, that being Brock and Roman, they did have an excellent match at, I guess, what would be WrestleMania 21, according to Kurt Angle. So I don't doubt that they'll have a great match the second time. It's not a matter of, these guys are going to go out there, they're going to stink out the joint. I don't think they're going to stink out anything. I think they'll probably have at least a very good match, if not a great match. Is it predictable? Yes, it is. And predictable, by the way, is not always bad. I'm conflicted on this one because I do think it'll be a good match, but I can't say it's a match that I'm overly excited for, that I'm dying to see. I won't say that. As far as this chamber match goes, I thought it was very good. Not as good as last year's, not even close, but still a very good match. So, like I said at the beginning of the review, I'd go 6 out of 10, maybe 6.5. I don't really think I would go higher than that. Let's check the Twitter poll. We always do this at the end of these reviews. I threw a poll up on Twitter, thumbs up, thumbs down, as soon as the show is over. It's been up now for probably about half an hour, maybe. We already have almost 2,000 votes already. 43% thumbs up, 57% thumbs down. So that's kind of surprising. I thought it would do a little bit better than that. But okay. So you guys apparently are not in agreement with me. I would call it a slight thumbs up show. You guys say thumbs down. We'll see. The poll's going to be up for a couple more days. We'll see if that changes. Maybe it'll swing the other way. So that's your Elimination Chamber review. We have one more pay-per-view before WrestleMania. That's the SmackDown Fastlane show in a couple of weeks. Many more disagreements on TV, I'm sure, yet to come between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon between now and then. Since Bryan can't be cleared, maybe they could have like a thumb wrestling match at WrestleMania. Or does Dr. Maroon have a problem with that too? Maybe that's not allowed either. Give this video a thumbs up if you would be so kind. Don't forget, you can now listen to the full Sound Off podcast, which drops every Sunday on Spotify. We are brand new on Spotify. Very excited about that. You can still listen to it all the other usual ways: iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Go to thesolomonster.com. That's always the most direct way. I will be back for a brand new Sound Off Extra here on YouTube in just a few weeks. We have Fastlane coming up, and then after that, it's WrestleMania 34. So until then, be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great week, and I will see you back here on the YouTube channel again very soon. Until then, take care, guys.